think it might actually be time. It might actually be time to give up on Windows. And that's saying something coming from me. I'm a longtime user of Windows. Like way back in elementary school, like kindergarten, first grade, second grade, something like that. And we were still using Windows 3.0. 3.0. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't around to see the very first versions of Windows. I'm not that old, but I'm up there, right? I'm up there. So they would send us into the computer lab and give us computer time. And we would get to play games and kind of dink around on the computer. I remember playing this like typing game where you would just peck at the keyboard, pressing the appropriate letters that pop up on the screen. And obviously I didn't learn how to type because I still peck at the keyboard, but yeah, I just remember this experience maybe in like second or third grade, doing a book report and doing research on the computer about the Taj Mahal. Yeah, I've been using computers for a long time, since my early childhood, and always Windows, except for, that's not true. That's not true. In kindergarten, in a different state, before we moved, there was one computer in the room, and it was an Apple II computer, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it was an Apple II. Yeah, but other than that, all Windows, all the time. And I remember like second grade, maybe first grade, I'm not really sure exactly, but it was like 1999. My dad brings home a computer from work that he got on a discount, and it was still like $1,200, $1,300 in 1999. So that's like thousands of dollars now. Yeah. And it was like top of the line. That's so weird to say, because I think it was like a gigabyte of storage or less. I don't even remember, but it was so small. The hard drive space, I'm talking about the hard drive space where you could actually install applications. So small, the storage on that thing, but it was massive back then because programs were only, a couple megabytes, right? So yeah, we get this Gateway brand Windows 98 PC, and I get to learn about computers at home and how to use them, and mostly play games. Let's be honest. I was mostly playing games. I was playing RuneScape Classic. Yeah, Classic. So we're not even talking about old school RuneScape. We're not talking about the polygon figures. We're talking about RuneScape with like the little 5-year-old hand-drawn characters on it. Like that RuneScape is the one I could play because our internet connection was dial-up. It was so bad that I couldn't even play the RuneScape Classic version. But yeah, learning about computers ever since early childhood, using Windows the whole way, going into middle school, high school. I never did any of the like, what would you call it? Like yearbook class or, I think there was some other like photography class or something like that in high school. I never did those classes. Those guys got to use Mac computers, but me, I've been on Windows the whole time, and I loved it. I don't know if I would say I loved the Windows operating system itself. I mean, maybe for what it allowed me to do, sure. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it, but it was mostly for what it allowed me to do in terms of gaming, right? Some of my best experiences in gaming were on PC. Like I said, RuneScape Classic, also StarCraft. I played a ton of StarCraft on the PC. And Star Wars Battlegrounds, that might be a deep cut for some of you out there. Another RTS, right? I love StarCraft, and then I absolutely love the world of Star Wars, or used to anyway, let's be honest. And so Star Wars Battlegrounds was like the obvious transition from loving StarCraft and loving Star Wars. But yeah, I would say I liked the operating systems themselves. I loved them for what they allowed me to do, right? For getting together with friends on, MSN Messenger and playing games and typing to each other about what we're doing. Or later on, oh my gosh, we're really going back here. MSN Messenger, I haven't even said that in a long time. Or, MySpace, connecting on MySpace, and then later Facebook. All these things, Windows has been a platform for me to do it on. I'm not saying exclusively Windows is the only way I could have done those things, but for my experience, Windows carried me through these things. It allowed me to do a lot of cool stuff. And the operating systems have been mostly good as time went on, right? I got to experience Windows 98 for a long time. And then when we switched, it was to XP. So we got to switch maybe some of those awkward ones in the middle. Some of you might love those awkward ones in the middle, like Windows 2000 or Windows ME or whatever. I didn't really mess with them, didn't get to experience them. I went straight from 95 to XP, and XP was like a nice, solid operating system, as well as Windows 95 was solid as well. So it was like I skipped the awkward stages there. And then again, I got to skip another awkward stage. One of my friends had Windows Vista. Windows Vista. I don't even know what was going on there. It was so... It was quirky. It was quirky and weird. And you could see how it was the precursor to Windows 7, right? I mean, it was just so... Yeah, it was just quirky. That's what it was. But I skipped straight to Windows 7. I bought my first computer for myself, a laptop that had Windows 7 on it. And again, another really solid operating system. And it wouldn't be until I started experiencing Windows 8, because I got a IT technician job, and I started having to deal with these operating systems in a more technical way, in a regular basis, that I would really appreciate how Windows was kind of hit or miss. Pretty much every other generation with Windows is hit or miss, and that's pretty consistent. It seems like they figure out something really solid, and then they start to experiment a lot with the next one. Trying really different things, thinking outside the box, good for them. They're branching out, they're trying new things. They're trying to pull in the customer base for different reasons and appeal to the, corporate America for a lot of reasons too, right? And that's what they have to do, because they have a huge client base. It's not just the home consumer, it's all these businesses too. So they have to do these innovative things. They have to try anyway, but they don't always hit. And so Windows 8 was one of those for me. I could see the vision. It was meant to be like the tablet PC OS, but it was just kind of gross and weird. And you try and find every single way to make it like Windows 7 again. That seems to be a trend. There's the solid operating system, like for example Windows XP or Windows 7, and then the one right after it is the awkward stage where they're trying new things, and you try as hard as you can to make it look like the previous operating system again and function like the previous operating system again. So that was Windows 8, and then we get to Windows 10, which, don't ask me why. I couldn't tell you. Why did they skip a number? Who knows? Maybe they had a Windows 9, it was in beta or something, or I don't know, some early alpha or whatever, and they decided, wow, this is way worse than 8 even, or just not working. Let's scrap it and go all the way to 10. I don't know. But 10, really solid. I'm using 10 right now. I love it. It's one of those solid stages again, where I feel like, yes, Windows is listening or something, I can still find control panel, but I have to search for it. Oh well, at least I can pin it to my taskbar if I want to, if I don't want to use the weird mangled up newer Windows settings app, And again, some of you may love these new apps. I mean, sure, they're modernizing, it's really nice, but I love the control panel. I know where everything's at. I'm so used to it because I messed with that so much while I was a technician. But again, we go Windows 10, and then there's Windows 11. And Windows 11, again, they're branching out. They're trying some stuff. And a lot of it is stuff I'm not interested in. It's even sketchy. It's even invasive. And just, I don't know. I'm not really a fan of Windows 11 for a lot of reasons. The privacy being the main concern, right? All the telemetry data, the diagnostics data, the whatever else, right? Location data, probably. I don't know. They package so much in there, grabbing data from us. It just feels so invasive. And then the Windows recall system. And it is an optional feature. It's not something that's required as of now, but the direction that Windows is going in, it seems like they're always adding more features to pull data from your PC. Just really consumer unfriendly practices that they're doing. I could definitely see them going in that direction where they make Windows Recall a required feature. Like, why? Nobody wants this. Nobody wants to be watched all the time or have their PC, pictures taken of what they're doing all the time. And we don't know if those snapshots are being sent back to some Windows or, Microsoft data center somewhere to be stored and looked at and used for whatever. Even if it's only used for advertisements, that's still invasive and weird and gross to me. Like, I just don't want people to be able to look at what I'm doing any time of the day, whatever. Not even saying, I don't do anything sketchy, but it's still weird. Like, I mostly just game on my computer, but it's still weird. it still feels gross. Like, oh, somebody's looking over my shoulder all the time. Nobody wants to be watched all the time, right? So it's because of these things, right? You never know if the next operating system is going to be a win or a big miss. You never know if they're going to add in more, data pulling, privacy invading systems or features to their operating system. And I just don't like it. I don't like it. I'm getting tired of it. It gets worse and worse every time. And I really think it might be time. It might be time to look into an alternative. And it's probably going to be Linux. Let's be honest. Linux is open source, and there's so many flavors of it. There's so many. And it's so easy to get Linux up and running, especially depending on the one you choose, right? I mean, some of them are harder. I'll admit that. Like Arch Linux, if you want to become a virgin again, or just stay a virgin for the rest of your life, yeah, that's the way to do it. by installing Arch Linux. There's a meme about that somewhere. You can look it up. But yeah, Arch Linux is like, the joke is you basically, even if you've already lost your virginity, you will become a virgin again if you use Arch Linux. But there are some really easy ones to use, like Mint. Mint Linux, super easy to use, and it's like a pretty easy transition from Windows. It's very similar. Or Ubuntu. Ubuntu's one that I'm more familiar with. I've used before because of classes and other things, just messing around with it. And it's also pretty beginner friendly. So there's things out there. There's options. I don't have to stay with Windows. I'm not forced to, I don't feel required to. I'm going to lose some stuff. I'm going to have to do some adjusting here and there because I'm so used to using Adobe products. And don't get me started on that. I am not a lover of Adobe. They are super consumer unfriendly. Their products are great though. And so it is going to be so hard to step away from Adobe if I do go to Linux, and I think I will. But yeah, I'm going to have to learn to use some open source version of Premiere Pro. I'm going to have to, I've used GIMP before a long time ago, but I'll have to learn to use GIMP again to, replace Photoshop. It's going to be some work. It's going to be some adjusting, but I think it's time. I really think it's time. And I think there's no better time than right now. With this transition coming up, with Windows 10 going end of life, or at least, end of life for the major security updates, right, in October, everybody being forced to Windows 11, and all of these invasive, privacy invasive features on Windows 11, and, the Windows recall system, who knows if they'll force it on the next operating system. I don't want to be on Windows for that. I think it's time. I think it's time to make a switch. Let me know what you guys are thinking about Windows and Windows operating systems and their kind of invasive privacy stuff. What would you guys choose if you were going to go for Linux? Maybe you have a different flavor that's more beginner friendly or more kind of Windows user transition friendly, I guess. One that Windows users would be more familiar with or comfortable with switching over to, like an easy transition. Yeah, just let me know what you guys think, and I will see you in the next video.